Education Reform by Emily, Logan, Maria, and John.
Education in the late 18th century was heavily influenced by colonial-era education. This colonial school system was in large part run by the Puritans, as they were the majority. This meant that education had a strong religious theme throughout. For example, children were taught to read English and Latin primarily so they could read the Bible. In addition, education was not uniform throughout the towns. Many had to work to help their families, and so they could not attend school. Those who could were typically wealthy and attended private schools. After that, even fewer attended secondary school. Most entered an apprenticeship to learn a trade or career. To put it very simply, you have a very disjointed or fragmented education system. There is practically no uniformity or equality.
What started to change? The problems of education were growing quite apparent. The multitude of individual schools and curriculums made the diversity in learning an issue and a threat to society. In order to strengthen the nation, the citizens must be smart enough to solve the challenges they will face in everyday life and beyond. Education needed to become more united and standardized so that all students get an equal and quality learning experience. All schools were centralized under the town and state authority. This centralization made the curriculum, teacher preparation, school supplies, and other resources available and standardized. Schools also started to shift from strict religious education to more secular studies.
Horace Mann, also known as the father of the common school, was born into poverty in 1796. He was self-taught, but he entered the sophomore class of Brown University at the age of 20. He believed that education was a child's natural right, and so he sought to increase opportunities for all children. He also believed that moral education should be the heart of the curriculum in schools. Horace Mann advocated state-controlled boards of education for a more uniform curriculum and greater involvement in teacher training. The primary purpose for Horace Mann was to bring local school districts under centralized town authority.
Horace Mann had a lasting effect on public education in the United States. Mann was dissatisfied with the education he received as a child because he was educated in a one-room schoolhouse in need of some major improvements. He attended elementary school in the early 1800s, and when there had been no real changes to improve education by 1837, Horace Mann's dissatisfaction motivated him to make an impact. In 1837, he took part in forming the first ever Massachusetts State Board of Education, which he became the secretary of. This was the beginning to what is referred to as the Common School Movement, a progressive movement in public education aimed at reforming and improving. Horace Mann knew that in order to truly change public education, there needed to be a way for information to be shared throughout the state, so he started the Common School Journal in 1838. Mann also established normal schools of Massachusetts, which were created to help prepare teachers and establish norms and standards for what they should be teaching. In summary, the three main objectives that he completed were establishing a way for the state to collect data, adoption of textbooks and a standard for learning materials across the state, and preparing teachers. Reforming the public education system did not receive full support from the town people, since it was moving away from focusing on religion and moving towards a secular curriculum. Religious leaders were strongly opposed to changes being made. Others were concerned at the idea of centralizing all learning. Many believed that it was antithetical to Republican traditions because parents should be able to influence what they believe is important in their children's education, and that the government shouldn't be making that decision for all children and families across the state.
So, what is the importance of this change? Reforming the education system was essential for the success of the United States. A uniform education system was finally implemented, which ensured that all students were receiving the same level of education and were learning the same material. This meant that the wealth of a family or the location of their house no longer impacted the education their children would receive. This not only created more opportunities for children by preparing them for jobs and other things in life, but also helped to connect people in a very diverse community. Also, giving children a good foundation and education leads to a brighter future for America. It helps people to become good, hardworking, and involved citizens and to move away from the potential threat of poverty because they are more qualified for more jobs. Finally, the education reform established the practice of taxes paying for public education, which emphasized the development of schools and curriculum and brought it under closer control of the government so that it would be uniform and equal for all students attending public schools.